Oh, to be young, rich, and black. A reality for industry veteran Will Smith was nothing short of a nightmare for his on screen aunt of 3 years, Janet Hubert.
Everything was a threat to me.
Why was I afraid?
Not you, the world. I was so driven by fear and jokes and comedy and all of that.
Yeah, you were live. You were live.
Starring Willy from Philly, Will, along with the rest of the Banks family, held a special place in all of our hearts, many feeling as though the roles of Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv were our relatives just as much as Will's. That's why when viewers noticed a slight, huge change in Aunt Viv's appearance, needless to say, fans weren't thrilled and yearned for the original Viv to come back and rescue us from the new babysitter. The veil would soon be lifted, and after years of hearsay, the truth regarding Janet Hubert's abrupt exit would finally be revealed. Can y'all believe The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air graced our TV screens over 30 years ago? The iconic show, without a doubt, made its mark in the world of television, becoming a cult classic that still has us rapping along to its theme song all these years later. In the wonderful year of 2020, we were faced with an abundant amount of indoor activities thanks to Miss Rona. Lots of connecting, reunion, and apparently forgiveness was in the air because the cast of the legendary hit series, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all decided to get together for the umpteenth time throughout the years. And a special someone who had been absent during previous reunions made a surprising appearance this time around. Janet Hubert, who'd famously played the heck out of the role of Aunt Viv during the show's first 3 seasons, gracefully stepped foot onto the Fresh Prince lot and into the set before hesitantly yet eagerly greeting her on-screen familia, whom she hadn't seen in over 20 years. To add the cherry on top, replacement Aunt Viv, aka light-skinned Aunt Viv, was also present and didn't hesitate to hug the woman she had replaced all those years ago. The reunion special, which aired on HBO Max, got even more intense when the special became a reunion within a reunion. Janet and the guy she trash-talked throughout the years, Will Smith, sat down for an intimate and private reconciliation, which of course had all of us on the edge of our seats, biting our fingernails awaiting for Janet's next move. A sigh of relief ensued after Janet lovingly placed her hand on Will's cheek, and it wasn't followed up with a ginormous pimp slap. The reunion overall went extremely well, and we could tell that a huge weight had been lifted from Janet's shoulders, a weight she had been carrying around for over 30 years. For those who aren't too familiar with Will and Janet's backstory and Janet's villain origin story, it all started in the year 1990. When one of NBC's biggest shows to date, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, starred an inexperienced rapper turned actor, Will Smith. After an impromptu audition at a little get-together hosted by none other than Quincy Jones, Will was chosen to play the spunky and cool Will Smith, cousin to Carlton, Hillary, and Ashley Banks, and nephew to Uncle Phil and Vivian Banks. Set in stone, the first season drew in 17 million viewers on a consistent basis, each character bringing a likable persona to the table. One role in particular, Janet Hubert's character, Aunt Viv, was the epitome of a well-put-together, luxurious, caring yet stern mother, and quickly became a fan favorite amongst viewers. You probably remember the dancing episode where Viv gets her groove back and aces a dance audition? Needless to say, Aunt Viv became everybody's aunt, similar to how Snoop Dogg is forcibly everybody's uncle. 1993 and the end of the series' 3rd season would be the last time we'd see dark-skinned Aunt Viv grace our screens, later to be silently replaced by light-skinned Aunt Viv, Daphne Reed. The unspoken switcheroo was addressed via Will's direct stare into the camera during the opening of the 4th season, and honestly wasn't ever thoroughly addressed on the show. Of course, social media wasn't around back then, so viewers couldn't sound off on Daphne's portrayal. The show would last for 3 more seasons after Janet Hubert's exit and officially come to an end in 1996. But when talks of Janet being difficult to work with and deemed crazy by her own on-screen family came about decades following the series' end, Fresh Prince fans were left flabbergasted. Not dark-skinned Aunt Viv. During an Atlanta radio appearance in 1993, Will Smith had actually addressed Janet's absence, stating that, "I can say straight up that Janet Hubert wanted the show to be the Aunt Viv of Bel-Air show because I know she is going to dog me in the press." Something prestige UK-born butler Jeffrey, aka Joseph Marcel, can vouch for. Being careful with his words, Joseph, confiding into those over at the HUU podcast on the viral hip-hop news YouTube channel, confessed that Janet had a strong sense of wanting things to always go her way and being catered to her needs.
In the whole show, there's always a moment where either Jeffrey's, demolished by the vacuum cleaner, or Will leapfrogs him or carries him or something. Yeah. But
although he did mention how close he was with Janet, she was demanding and urged Will to tone down his on-set party antics and focus more so on giving her more of what he was getting when it came to overall deals and salary. Continuing on with his radio confession, Joseph then told listeners that Janet once had said that she'd been in the business for 10 years and a snotty-nosed punk, being Will, came along and got his own show. Janet's disdain for Will indulges in the idea that he single-handedly got her blacklisted from her career of choice by going around telling anybody who listened that she was difficult to work with, which was a huge no-no for any actress in the acting business, especially a dark-skinned, self-named blacktress like Janet herself. It didn't help that Alfonso Ribeiro, who played the role of Carlton, partook in a stand-up style story time telling the audience that the Fresh Prince cast was like a real family, all except Aunt Viv, whom he labeled as nuts. Janet's on-set demands and tantrums were too much for the cast and producers to bear, so when word of increased pay was brought into question, producers gave Janet 10 weeks to confirm or deny a deal they had offered. The exact amount of that deal is still unknown, but when the offer expired, Janet had yet to make a decision. She eventually decided to take the deal, but NBC shut that down since the deadline had been up. Other supporting cast members, Karen Parsons and Tatiana Ali, have also said very minimal about Janet's claims. Tatiana, however, recalled there being tension on set. According to Janet, she was now dang near blacklisted in Hollywood, all thanks to a then 21-year-old Will Smith's actions, or lack thereof. And although she was still able to land guest roles here and there, one notable role being the voice of Franklin's Aunt Denise in the Rockstar production Grand Theft Auto 5, nothing would come close to her role as the other aunt, the OG Aunt Viv. Janet was labeled crazy and bitter throughout the years for continuously speaking out against Will, and even his wife Jada. She'd label Alfonso as Will's tampon and his butt wipe, and go on to call Will a butthole, and several other not-so-nice words. 20 years and counting, and Janet was still hot and ready to go in on her on-screen son and nephews whenever the opportunity arose. A standout incident being of the mini Fresh Prince reunion the cast had at Karen Parsons' charity event. Alfonso couldn't wait to post the set of photos of his crew with Aunt Viv #2. When word got back to Janet, she wasn't shy, nor did she hold back her true feelings. Taking to her Facebook, she called Alfonso a media hoe and went on to say how there'd never be a true Fresh Prince reunion. Needless to say, that statement wasn't necessarily true, given the cast reunion in 2020. Janet had finally revealed the real reason behind her on-set volatile behavior, crediting an abusive marriage along with an unsturdy pregnancy during her last season on the show. Will, on the other hand, credits his youth for his lack of understanding and also his own childhood trauma, witnessing his dad being abusive to his mother, for being able to understand Janet's perspective 30 years later. When it all boils down to it, it sounds like 21-year-old Will just wanted the approval of his on-screen aunt, and Janet wanted Will to understand her needs, and when those weren't met, all hell broke loose. Well, At least we'll finally be seeing our favorite Aunt Viv in cast reunion photos from here on out. Do you think Janet Hubert was justified? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. And stay tuned for more true celebrity stories.